Welcome back, boys. Today we have one from PsychHacks. What women want, the answer to the question. Let's hear it out.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsychHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is what women. Welcome to the age-old problem. Men have been seeking an answer to this question for millennia. Even Sigmund Freud confessed that this remained an enigma for which he had no solution. However, at the risk of hubris, I will have to respectfully disagree with the good doctor. And I'm going to put forth in this very video my answer to this question. I'll begin by answering the question more generally, in the sense of an explanation that holds true over time, and close by answering the question more specifically, in the sense of what women today want in the modern social milieu.
Yeah, it always changes from era to era, or like it's different now than what it used to be, but it depends on what time you look at.
The simplest way to explain what women want in general terms is this. Women want what other women want. There it is. Women want what other women want. It's true, but kind of unsatisfying, especially because we very quickly run into a chicken and the egg type of problem. Namely, if women want what other women want, how do those other women decide what they want? In response to this, we might have to consider female desire to be a kind of emergent phenomenon that is normatively rooted in a certain time and place. Consider women's fashion. Yes, the designers in Milan and New York already know what they're going to be pushing for the spring lineup 2 years from now. They're attempting to influence taste, but they cannot dictate it. Despite their best efforts, the particular look that will go viral in any given season is still anyone's guess. It just kind of emerges out of the profusion of individual choices at the population level. And once that look gets established, because it's adopted by a critical mass of women, it becomes the standard against which individuals are compared, for as long as it remains the norm. And this is how, in a given time and place, a sizable majority of women always seem to kind of look the same, despite the fact that their fashions are constantly changing. Make sense? A lot of female culture is normative, despite the fact that those norms are always changing. It's kind of like a flocking instinct, and there may be plausible explanations for this phenomenon. Consider the distribution of most traits across gender. While most men and women's distributions are more alike than not, there is a consistent effect that we tend to observe at the population level. That is, irrespective of the trait measured, women's distributions tend to be more peaked, more congregated toward the mean, whereas men's distributions tend to be flatter, creating longer tails in either direction. This means that, relatively speaking, a greater proportion of women tend to be average, whereas a greater proportion of men are more likely to be either abject failures or rampant successes. On some level, nature has chosen males to be the sex on which it experiments. It takes bigger risks with males, and sometimes those risks pay off, and a lot of times they don't. Risk-taking is an aspect of successful reproductive fitness in males in a way it just isn't with females. As I've said before, the biggest risk you can take as a man is not taking a risk. If you don't do something to stand out in some way as a man, then life will pass you by. You will be unnoticed by your fellow man, and you will be ignored by women. The average man is invisible to others.
Yeah, you need to stand out if you want to win. I don't. I mean, this is about women, but like, I don't get women by being normal. Does that make sense? I always do things however I want it, however I want to do them, and sometimes women respond well to that, right?
This isn't true for women. Most average women can be reasonably assured of being selected by. This someone might not be the man they prefer, but most women do not end up alone due to a lack of interest, which can't be the same. Can't be said the same for men. So if the successful outcome is more.
Yes, most women can get a man, but they will. It's settling. That's kind of what it is. They can sleep around from the early 20s to, I mean, they can sleep around till they're 30, and there'll always be some dude at the end that's like willing to marry that. Now, as a dude, you need to kind of build more. There is no it doesn't really get better if you don't change. You get better. Go to the gym, take care of yourself, try to make some more money, just become more smarter and better individual. Women have this like kind of bailout in today's society where they can just be complete degenerates, and there'll be some dude that's they will settle for in the end. But actually, most dudes are kind of settled for, or like the woman doesn't really. You're not the first pick, truly, because with social media and movies and the books they read, they have these thoughts that they never voice about what they truly want. But yeah, I mean, that topic is a lot of people get mad at that topic. So
More or less assured, why would women, or females more generally, expose themselves to unnecessary risk? What would they have to gain? Evolutionary pressures have pushed women toward the center, which is generally the safest place to be. Just consider how differentially men and women value safety and security. It's well documented that men on the whole are much more comfortable with risk and uncertainty than women are. They kind of have to be. And it's this preference for safety and security that motivates women to keep a close watch on what other women are doing. Because what most other women are doing constitutes the fattest part of the distribution curve, irrespective of what that curve is measuring. And this.
yeah, so if a woman sees you, let's say a random woman sees you with other women, and they are, obviously interested in you or talking a lot to you, other women, that will signal to other women that you're good, that you can be spoken to. You're not a weirdo. You're not this. You're not that. You're good, and that kind of gives you like it vouches you in a way.
Is where the greatest safety and.
It's I mean, this is not like a study or anything, but there are dudes who get a girlfriend, and then suddenly they have suddenly every girl wants to talk to them. It's kind of that kind of deal.
And security resides. Like fish in a shoal, each individual is closely monitoring where the group is moving. Because if they guess wrong and the individual turns left when the shoal turns right, that little fish might find itself very vulnerable and very exposed. And this close intersex observation doesn't stop with fashion trends. Women are looking to other women for information on how to live their lives more generally. A critical mass of female behavior is an indication of where the fattest part of the curve might be, alignment with which will afford the greatest possibility of social safety. If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy. That's the answer to the question of what description. So, that's the answer to the question of what women want on a very high level. And this explanation implies that to understand what women want more specifically, we would need to observe how a critical mass of women are behaving in any given time and place. Consider how we would answer that question a few generations ago. What did most women want? Well, what were most women doing? They weren't trying to be boss bitches or ladies who lunch. They wanted to be housewives. Like that was the career most women were aiming at 70 years ago. Now, some people would argue that this historical behavior is conclusive evidence that it's in the best interests of all women to raise kids and take care of homes. And I don't necessarily see it that way. Obviously, women have been evolutionarily selected for traits that facilitate motherhood, traits like gentleness and nurturing, and they may experience satisfaction in expressing those traits in their individual lives. We also can't ignore the fact that there has been a noticeable lack of optionality with respect to women's life choices for a very long time. When women historically have become mothers and housewives, I don't think we can simply conclude that they were expressing their biologically programmed preferences in vacua, because when they looked to other women and saw their mothers and grandfathers and sisters and girlfriends all doing the same thing, that was a strong signal as to where the fattest part of the behavioral curve was located. And certainly, deviating from this norm carried great risks to women historically. My point here is that it's difficult to tease apart how much of this phenomenon is due to biology and how much of it is due to culture. So let's fast forward to the present moment. If you're a woman looking out at other women, especially through the lens of social media, what are you going to see a critical mass of them doing?
Offense, degenerate stuff. Uh,
Definitely not getting married and having kids.
yeah, you don't really. I don't see that much on the internet anymore. Like just people being happy with families and getting married. It's all just like degeneracy garbage.
At least not exclusively. There is still a norm, but that norm has shifted, and it will continue to shift continuously. And what I'd like to argue is that what you see a critical mass of women doing today is, and that's what women want. Women today want to have all the experiences. They want to have a career and earn a master's.
Yes, they want everything. They want to live the most degenerate lifestyle imaginable, and have like the fantasy of traditional like family and home and all that, children. They want both, but no.
Degree and start a business and have a baby and get 1 million followers and visit all the countries and eat all the foods and get married and find themselves and take a yoga retreat and blow up the scene, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, there's so many women that like just want to travel for forever. It's like
Women want to ride all the rides at Disneyland. They're like completionist gamers. They don't necessarily want everything in the sense of material possessions, but in the sense that they want to have every emotional, relational, and social experience that other women anywhere seem to be having. And collectively, across the various highlight reels they consume on social media, they believe this can and should be possible. And this is an important clue.
who gonna tell them?
What really motivates the modern woman is the fear of missing out. Thanks to social media, it appears
Yeah, a lot of I have to be honest, like a lot of these like younger women, they're completely brain rotted. And I would say like you can't have like a genuine convo with them. They're just like, I don't know, like it seems like they don't have like much thought. If that makes sense.
that other
Best experience I've had is like with a little bit older women that didn't grow up on social media.
women are doing all of the things, which sends the cue that doing all of the things is the fattest part of the behavioral curve, which, as we've discussed, is where the safety is. And I think this is a big part of why so many women today are making themselves unnecessarily anxious and stressed and depressed. The vast majority of women cannot do all of the things, which basically sends a constant signal to them that they are drifting out of the shoal. Their emotions are responding to this perception of danger. However, this is not conscious in all but the most self-aware individuals. FOMO, as a guiding principle, also helps to explain a lot of what would otherwise remain baffling about the decisions of modern women. If the goal is to do all of the things, then an essential question that must be considered in any decision, conscious or not, must be, will doing this prevent me from doing that? That is, if A prevents B, and I want both A and B, then if possible, I need to be able to secure B before A. They are loath to choose any path that forecloses any other. Of why women tend to use their 20s, the decade.
Yeah, they want to keep their like in relationships in this context. They want to keep all their options open, right?
When they are most likely to secure a long term relationship on the most favorable terms to advance their education and careers rather than start a family. Given that women's normalized sexual marketplace value tends to decrease over time as their youth, beauty, and fertility fade, men look at this behavior and shake their heads. It's almost like watching someone set fire to a pile of money. It's like, what a waste. However, from the perspective of modern women, this decision makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, go to school and get all your degrees, and then suddenly you're pushing 30 and you're wondering, why don't I have as many options as I did when I was 20 or 21? And they get angry at the men. You've seen this multiple times, have you not?
After all, it's what a critical mass of other women seem to be doing. What's more, starting a family young would very likely make it much more difficult to experience certain things, possibly permanently, which would obstruct the current prime directive to do all of the things. Like a young mother probably isn't going to Cancun with their girlfriends, or giving a TED talk on mindfulness, or eating gelato in Rome and sushi in Tokyo, or getting celebrated as one of the 30 under 30. Female logic dictates that it's better to get those things before settling down for completionist purposes. Otherwise, now, you might argue that starting a family later in life, assuming she's able to do so, will also prevent certain experiences.
Yes, it's like oh man, the culture in the West is completely destroyed. It's broken. I can't believe that women think that having children and starting a family is like you're missing out. It's seen as a bad thing.
Watching her grandkids graduate from college or celebrating her golden wedding anniversary. And this is true. Choosing any path in life closes off others. This is inescapable.
Yeah, go on your fucking vacations forever. Like, it's so meaningless. Like, create something more. Create a legacy.
The way out of this is to realize that women don't actually want to do all of the things. They just want to do all of the things that a critical mass of other women have decided are worth doing. They conveniently ignore everything else. And this, like fashion, changes with time. In any case,
Yeah, it's gonna take time before it is viewed as a good thing to start a family and to have children.
there you have it. Women want what other women want. And today, what other women want is to do all of the things. They are motivated by FOMO, and in the service of that desire, they are incentivized to postpone foreclosure for as long as possible. Accept these principles, and the behavior of modern women becomes entirely comprehensible. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who.
This one was good. I like this one. PsychHacks. Check them out. Good. It's simple. Women want two things: more, something else. My 80-year-old mom, who never had to work, is still married to my millionaire dad at 59. Raised 3 perfectly acceptable children and got to spend the majority of her days doing whatever she wanted. Recently told me that she sacrificed everything for her kids. The answer to the question truly is everything, and this is a woman from a completely different era. What? So, okay, so she married a goddamn millionaire. Oh, okay. So she missed out, huh? On all the like degenerate garbage. fucking materialism that doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, this one was good. What do you guys think? Anyway, boys, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I see you boys on the next one, okay? Take care of yourself.